it's time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication, Ratitude. The magazine of the North of England Rat Society. For northerners who don't find pigeons dirty enough. And we start with... Putin is what, says author?
Great bloke and I want to live.
Yeah.
Is it gay?
The answer is latently gay, says author. A new biography of Vladimir Putin speculates that he might be latently gay. The biographer is not the first to make this claim. The idea that President Putin is latently has been put forward by a number of recently deceased psychologists.
Donald Trump is awarded the title of what 3 years in a row?
Cheesy what's-it look-alike.
Cavefy of the year.
It's actually Super Senior Club Champion. A reporter this week tweeted the Champions Board at one of the Trump National Golf Clubs. Let's have a look.
Oh, well, that's not rigged, then.
Also this week, Vladimir Putin was interviewed by American news anchor Megyn Kelly, who said, off-camera and privately, he was warm, extremely polite and inquired after my family. No, Megyn, don't tell him about your family! Next, you should notify colleagues whenever you intend to what?
Oh, is this from the Members' Handbook, Alan?
Yeah. It's whenever you're going to mention them in a speech.
What about if you're going to use part of their speech and pass it off?
That's only Amber Rudd who's ever been known to do that.
He's so hurt.
Yeah, actually, the correct wording is when you're going to refer to them in the chamber. The guide also gives a list of catering outlets and bars where you can enjoy breakfast, a quick cuppa, informal lunch, table service lunch, snacking, afternoon teas, informal dinner, table service dinner and drinks. What? No 11s?
Game of whale, hedgehog, parrot or prawn.
Whale.
How did a beluga whale attract the attention of some Norwegian fishermen this week?
He kept coming up to the boats and talking to them, and he's got a harness on. And they think that he was a beluga whale from a facility where they were training beluga whales.
In St. Petersburg. He
Presumably.
did a hell of a job getting there.
Yes.
He's a whale. I mean, they can go a long way.
But over dry land?
Scientists were led to believe that the whale may have been used by the Russians as a spy because the harness had a fitting for a camera, and written on the buckle of the harness were the words, Equipment St. Petersburg. Here it is.
They're everywhere. There are a couple of them in Salisbury. Just having a look round, checking out the river.
Yeah.
It did have a camera. Oh, it was sending back Moby Dick pics.
In the early days, I used to strap a Photo Me Booth kiosk through them. And you were encouraged to stick your head through the curtains and pick your own backgrounds.
Here's another question.
That's a parrot.
Why were zookeepers in Brazil taken aback when they saw their Amazonian parrot, Freddy Krueger?
He's radioactive. He shines in the dark, look.
This parrot had been stolen, but managed to make his way back to the zoo this week. The parrot had quite an adventurous life even before he was stolen from the zoo. What's happened to him over the past 4 years?
He was Defence Secretary.
According to The Guardian, he's been shot in a gun battle between police and gangsters during a raid on a drug den.
Yeah.
He was then bitten on the leg by a snake and just days later abducted by armed thieves. Who's a lucky boy then? Finally, who would like to see a seagull?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Wow! That's so good! Oh, my God!
That's brilliant.
Are we sure that's a seagull? It could be a very tall albatross.
Meanwhile, traces of cocaine have been found in shrimps off the coast of Suffolk, and a heavy intake of steroids is being blamed for all the big muscles and tiny cockles.
After the poisoning, the Russian ambassador was asked about diplomatic relations between Britain and Russia, and he said they've become rather poisonous. I mean, he's auditioning for a Bond film now.
Why didn't they just shoot him in the head?
Sorry, what?
You know, they've got... I mean...
I didn't expect that from the host of Pointless.
Well, no, why did they go to all these lengths? I mean, if they really don't care what we think.
I think it's fiercer.
It's more exciting, isn't it?
I suppose, yeah. How do Russian security services contemptuously refer to the two spies?
The two spies...
The two spies, the would-be
Skripals,
assassins.
the would-be assassins.
Soon to be dead.
According to the Times, they're known as Dolce & Gabbana in Russian spy circles because of the suggestion by a TV interviewer that they appeared to be two gay men on holiday. The editor of Russia Today, Margarita Samonyan, who interviewed them, tweeted after the interview, "I don't know if they're gay or not gay. They're so stylish with their beards and haircuts and tight pants." They didn't come on to me. Definitely gay then, Margarita.
Next, outrage as what replaced by piece of cardboard.
Family planning advice.
I'm sorry.
You're sorry. How do you think I feel?
It is Russia's eternal flame. Yeah. One of Russia's commemorative eternal flames was replaced with a cardboard cutout, hoping no one would notice. Here it is.
This is the idea that the act of Russian warfare that comes next will be invading our homes via our kettles. Yes, the hackers use your kettle's default password to take control of it and
Hang on, your kettle has a default password?
I mean, your kettle probably doesn't.
My kettle doesn't know.
No, but if you have a smart kettle...
A smart kettle?
Yes, you can boil water from another room.
Can you boil a kettle in somebody else's house without their permission?
Yes, well...
That's how Putin could launch an invasion. All our kettles could spontaneously start boiling.
Everybody rushes to make a cup of tea and he's coming across the Strait to Dover.
Straight in.
But you're joking, but...
I mean, this is happening.
No, it's not really happening, Ian.
Yes.
Isn't it?
But the kettle thing, that was just... I made that up.
No, you see, you didn't make it up. They can take over the kettle via the password and press-gang the kettle into a botnet. The enslaved device then lures others into the botnet, and they're all told to make endless requests from the same server, causing it to overload and crash.
Yeah, this did happen last week. There was a crash when all sorts of bits of the internet were unavailable and fell apart after they were hacked into it. It made a huge difference to my life. I couldn't get on Twitter, Instagram. I was taking pictures of my lunch.
You had to get an Uber car instead of your regular handsome cab.
Not just kettles. I mean, what else? What are other...
Fridges.
Toasters.
Yes.
Toasters are the worst.
Electric can openers.
Toasters are the
Webcams, baby monitors, printers, routers. You must have some of these things.
But I have a baby monitor, yes, but that's kind of as a foolish purchase, really, because I don't have any children.
Aren't we protected by the fact that we've got very slow broadband?
Why should we not be worried about Russia's aggressive posturing, according to Professor Mark Armand?
Somebody hacked into you?
Yeah.
Mr. Putin has a reasonable regard for him.
Oh!
Right, Paul and Marcus.
There's a woman being inflated on the beach.
Yeah, that's the girl who was accused of being a Russian spy because she went out with a politician. They found she wasn't a Russian spy, she was just a Russian.
Yep, you're quite right.
They thought she was a spy. She used to go into the House of Commons canteen and say, "These sausages are rather cold for this time of year." The seagull flies high above Krakow. It sounded like secret messages.
I think they actually thought she was a spy because she made a beeline for a member of the Liberal Democratic Party.
So not very well informed, then?
No. They thought, what other reason could there possibly be?
It's phoning the Kremlin going, they're going to make corduroy compulsory.
Indeed, this is Katia Zytuleviter, who had...
I know, you bet you've practised that, haven't you?
Конечно.
Yeah, it was very good.
That's all my Russian.
That's very good.
It.
You just learned her name and that was it?
No, конечно. I just said of course.
Bless you. Oh, I was of course as well, blimey.
Здравствуйте. Меня зовут Кирсти. Как тебя зовут?
Oh, very good.
Very good. Hold on a minute, I just want to ring MI5.
Yeah, exactly. You fallen for the oldest trick in the book. We invited you onto this show. This show's not going out this week. These are cardboard figures. That's not Giles Brand, that's a puppet. For the Muppet Show. It was.
If, as a result of his presidency, the world does indeed end, won't it be marvellous to think it happened in our time?
He might change what the word presidential means. Like, in a few years, you'll be going, oh, my uncle fell over and banged his head on a curb. He's been rendered completely presidential.
He dismissed the head of the FBI this week.
Comey, James Comey?
Mr. Comey was dismissed.
Comey over.
Because he was...
investigating his connections with Russia.
And now there's an inquiry. Who's been put in charge of the inquiry?
They've got a special prosecutor.
A former
Yeah,
head of
former
the
FBI.
FBI.
And then when you open up that special
Muller.
prosecutor, there'll be another little special prosecutor. And open up, there'll be another little... There'll eventually be a little bloke saying, did you do it?
Robert Muller?
He's Robert Mueller, who was the former FBI director. James Comey's done something to get his revenge on Trump. Any ideas
He has
what it is?
produced his memo.
Oh,
he
yes,
kept
he
a
shook
memorandum.
notes, didn't he?
Yes.
After Trump tweeted that he had kept, or suggested he might have kept a recording of the dinner that took place in February, Comey then came back to say, well, I kept a memorandum.
And he said, will you drop the Russian stuff? So basically, he accused him of literally trying to interfere in the process of justice. And the Americans don't like that very much. So it is all going wrong.
Yeah.
And then the best bit was Putin, who was like, oh, if you want the transcript, we've got one.
How did Trump's administration respond to Comey's leak?
With confusion.
With incredible confusion. According to online news website Daily Beasts, one official said, I felt like running down the hallway with a fire extinguisher.
His basic problem is he's confusing the role of President of America with 1970s light entertainment comedian at the BBC. And the fact that everyone's tolerated him up to this moment, suddenly they've said, well, look, Donald Trump, he's awful. How could we have told? I mean, he's been campaigning for months and months, and we've never had any indication that he might be thoroughly ghastly in any number of ways. I mean, how were we to know? This is unfair.
At what point was it not ludicrous that the presenter of The Apprentice in America could become the Commander-in-Chief? It's like saying the presenter of Have I Got News for You could become Foreign Secretary.
Mm.
Anyway,
I'm sure that loyalty will be rewarded.
I've never watched an election a U.S. election unfold overnight from London, from watching the BBC overnight. And that's the way, if you want to watch America go down the dumper, watch it through the befuddled nocturnal fog of a man named Andrew Neil. Watching a man, he's just barely on top of everything. And he just sits there, and he had other people beside. He looks like he's squeezed in like this. And then when they're not there, he still looks like he's squeezed in. Like his body's trying to eject itself. And he comes out, and he's trying to explain the Electoral College, and nobody quite gets it, because it's impossible to explain it. Somebody's got to get it 270. And now you're watching his scoreboard at a bowling alley. And then finally they give up, and they just bring out this guy who just dances on a map. He dances on a map, and he's trying to show all the states with his feet. He's going like, oh, there's Wisconsin, and there's Ohio, and oh, there's a red state turning blue. Oh, I mean, Christ, Trump is becoming president, and the guy's playing Twister. And then finally, there's just at the top of Andrew Neil's head, spray-on thatch thing, and comes back up at 6:30 and says, Trump's president, and great. Trump's president, I'm watching an acorn talk to me.
The longest TV review I've ever heard.
When he says stuff, it doesn't have to be practical. It doesn't have to be true, because he's a liar. He's a liar and he's a racist, He's a friend of Piers Morgan's. There's...
No. Come on, no.
There he is. Piers Morgan said he was.
No, Andy, no. Piers has got no friends, you know that.
Well, let's look at how his ban would work in practice. It's quite simple, actually. Trump explained what border guards would say when faced with travellers trying to enter the country. They would say, "Are you Muslim?" And if the answer is yes, they wouldn't be allowed into the country. So it's a very workable way of doing it. So I think in answer to your question, who would be allowed into the country under his system, it's anyone.
He's getting the backwash now. Even from places like Dubai, where lots of investments, they don't want his name attached to it. They're pulling out. They're not actually... Trump trinkets sold big in the Middle East. Trump toothpaste, Trump toothbrushes.
Really?
Yeah.
Trump toothbrushes?
But I'm making Trump toothbrushes.
All right, 'cause you wouldn't want anything to do with him in your mouth. And how did Britain first get involved in Trump's recent remarks?
He said that London was...
no-go areas.
London was a no-go area.
For certain police officers.
Yes, he said...
There's certain places in London police are scared for their lives. Sports Direct. Going there.
Yes, he bolstered...
Are you one of their regular customers?
Yeah. It's where I get my trainers.
Do they still do the ones with the buckles?
They do.
Landmark moment in Trump's presidency did the trip signify?
He was about to be impeached. So he thought if he went abroad, he could make more of a fool of himself than at home. I mean, it is extraordinary. He said about the Saudis that they threw people off buildings and had an appalling attitude to women during the campaign. Then he got there and said, "This is a magnificent kingdom." I mean, he contradicts himself almost mid-sentence nowadays. He can't keep it up. Yeah. And he criticised Obama for bowing to the Saudis. Yeah, and then he himself curtsied. Look at it, he does this sort of weird thing and then puts on the award of the great flogger of the Temple of Doom or whatever it is.
That was an ITV quiz show that never got past the pilot.
It is quite extraordinary. And having failed to point out that, you know, if you're going to Saudi Arabia to make a speech about where this appalling version of Islam comes from that preaches terrorism and extremism, where is it? Oh, it's here. Not a mention of it.
They were told at the official dinner he needed to have ketchup on standby. Do you want to know a fascinating fact about tomato ketchup?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm going to say that one again.
Yeah.
Do you want to know a fascinating fact about tomato ketchup?
Oh, yes.
Henning's auditioning for the Churchill dog ad.
Oh, yes. Well, as soon as Brexit looming, I'm a lot more amenable to advertising.
What was Donald Trump's latest contribution to the health of Americans? He mused aloud whether it would be a good idea for people to inject disinfectant into themselves or to perhaps even drink it to clean out their lungs. I think he should be the first to volunteer. He later claimed that he was being sarcastic. There was a marvellous bit when he said, no, I was being sarcastic, I was talking to the reporters, and in fact I was looking straight at you, he said to a reporter. I was looking straight at you when I said this, and the reporter said, I wasn't there.
I was just going to say, we ran a piece in Private Eye 3 weeks ago, which was meant to be a joke, saying that because bleach is very effective against the virus, perhaps you should put your head over a bowl of it and inhale it. And I just had no idea he was a subscriber.
Well, that just is a gratuitous advert for Private Eye. Why isn't Ian allowed to come on and gratuitously publicise Private Eye? Well, as Paul says, he's got some very interesting ideas on how we might treat coronavirus that the experts might not have thought of.
Supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light. And I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do, either through the skin or in some other way. Right, and then I see the disinfectant, where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or...
Oh, she just looks like every woman who's sat at the bus stop minding their own business and the weird, crazy guy just doesn't leave them alone. Like, her logic is just stare at the ground for long enough and maybe he'll go away.
I can think of a good way of getting light into his body. I'd shove an angle-poised lamp right up the Oval Office.
She's not completely blameless either, because she's given interviews in which she said that Donald Trump's business past, which involves various bankrupt casinos, has given him skills and insights that really help him understand the science in this case.
Here he is saying goodbye to the first person to try injecting themselves with disinfectant.
We'll do it.
If you can remember back that far, this is the return to work of Boris Johnson on Monday. There's speculation as to how Boris's new son might affect his thinking on government policy. Well, if my experience of dealing with new babies is anything to go by, he'll be wanting to reopen the pubs within about 2 days. Speaker of the House, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, welcomed the news and said for Carrie and Boris, 2020 is certainly a year they will never forget. Although hopefully with enough therapy, the rest of us might.
For round two, fingers on buzzers, teams. As for the first time tonight, we go over to Peter Snow and the swingometer of news.
David, thank you. What I can definitely say is that it's turning into a very bad night for Ian. Even at this early stage, you can see this dramatic swing to this rather fascinating curio.
So, yeah, there's a new book come out which indicates that Donald Trump cheats at golf like he does at everything else. He's got caddies that he's specifically trained to sort of lie for him. He's got balls hidden all around. He once claimed to win a golf tournament while he was playing at another golf tournament 87 miles away. He has no shame genes, so it doesn't matter to him. He doesn't think, oh, you know, how pathetic that I should be cheating at golf. He thinks that as long as he's won, that's all that matters.
If that's his only flaw, you know.
Do you know who the sports journalist was?
Yes, somebody Riley.
Rick Riley.
Rick Riley.
Do you know what the book was called?
Everything you need to know about Trump you can learn from how he plays golf, something like that.
Commander-in-Cheat.
Commander-in-Chief, that's it, yes. How golf explains Trump,
That's
yes.
right. And do you know what Riley said about Trump in particular?
Well, he's notorious for lying about his scores and...
Cheats like a mafia accountant.
Yes. He does walk around like a mafia don, doesn't he, with the overcoat and stuff, you know.
What did Trump say to a golfer who was foolish enough to beat him at golf? He said, it's all right. I've got a supermodel girlfriend and my own Boeing 7. One of his golf courses in Florida has a plaque on the wall saying he was the 1999 championship winner. Why is that a problem?
Well, because he didn't play at that championship. Is this the one where he was playing 87 miles away?
That's because the golf course wasn't open in 1999.
Oh, it wasn't open.
Who's been caught lying this week in a possible attempt to get closer to Trump?
The Attorney General? Is it somebody from this side of the Atlantic?
Give you a hint, it's a Chinese woman.
Oh, yes, the lady that went into that, whatever that resort is called that he owns, she went in there with all sorts of software and tried to log onto the internet or something and steal all sort of sensitive data.
That's correct.
Yeah.
According to the BBC, she told staff she was there to use the swimming pool, but the Secret Service agent called Samuel Ivanovich noticed that she was carrying 4 mobile phones, a laptop, an external hard drive and a thumb drive with a computer virus on it, but no swimsuit. Other than the truth, what else has Trump been struggling to say this week?
Oh, he can't say the word origins.
Let's just have a look.
No collusion, no obstruction. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation, the beginnings of that investigation. You look at the origin of the investigation.
Comes out as oranges.
Talking about his suntan.
Yes, indeed, yes. And maybe the colour of the suit he'll be wearing in a couple of years' time.
A new book has confirmed that Donald Trump cheats at golf and doesn't like losing. According to the author of the new book about Donald Trump's golfing habits, the president doesn't just cheat, he fudges and foozles and fluffs. And once he's sorted his hair out, he plays golf. Following the completion of the Muller report, the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov mocked suggestions that Russia had colluded in the US elections. It's hard to find a black cat in a dark room, especially if it's not there. Although, as Donald Trump himself boasted, if anyone in a dark room can grab pussy, it's him.
How did Keir himself accidentally lighten the mood?
Sausages instead of hostages.
So good.
Yeah.
I did feel for him because he gave a very long speech and I thought, no one will remember anything about that apart from he said, we're going to bring the sausages home.
Yeah.
I think what happened there is sometimes when I come on the television, my mates will be like, can you get the word unicycle in?
Which you just done.
James, you owe me a tenner, mate.
Unicycle, I'll have a tenner as well.
I think what's happened here is his mate, Labour peer Wahid Ali, has gone, if you say sausages in your next speech, I'll give you 16 grand. And he knew that hostages was coming up and he saw an opportunity. That's what I think has happened.
It's a product placement, effectively. Sounds plausible.
Can I just say that the night Keir did that, I was doing an event with John McCarthy, who actually had been a hostage in Lebanon. And I thought, oh no, this is really bad taste. I don't know what's going to happen. John McCarthy stood up and said, as a former sausage...
Shall we have a look at the clip?
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The return of the sausages. The hostages.
It's so good.
Is this any connection with Liz Truss opening up new pork markets?
That is a disgrace.
Yes.
Curie, who is definitely not a close pole dancing friend of Boris. And definitely there is no conflict of interest at all in anything that Boris ever did with her companies, ever.
They've admitted that they obviously have been lovers. That's
No,
not...
no, they haven't admitted.
Haven't they?
No.
Oh, OK, a different WhatsApp group.
No.
Sorry, OK, no one... What I mean is no one knows, and...
He took her around some of the sights of London, apparently.
Oh, I see. It's like...
Up the gherkin.
She went on the Piers Morgan show. She was given a chance to deny it.
Yeah.
6 times she didn't deny it. She said,
Yeah.
I'm not going to weaponise this by giving an answer. Whereas she could have ended it if she'd said, no, we didn't.
But them being romantically involved in whatever capacity isn't the problem, it's the business side. So we get kind of carried away with the saucy bits.
No, but it's more if you are having an affair with someone and you pay them £126,000 of public money, that becomes very, very reprehensible. And if you put them on trade missions and also write letters suggesting that they get jobs which they're not qualified for, again, the fact you're having an affair with them is important. So sex, obviously, we're not interested in, but we are in this case.
Oh, I see. I see.
So when it comes to tax, what does every politician really want?
To be able to declare their own tax affairs, make them public.
Transparency. isn't it?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
And what do they mean by transparency in this case?
We're not going to do it.
They mean revealing a very small amount of information that doesn't tell you too much.
Yeah.
So you just put your income in, and if income isn't your big thing, if, say, assets, say you're in the cabinet, just thinking randomly, then you don't have to declare those. So, you know, transparency up to a point, which is opaque.
That makes a lot of sense, yes. Yes, according to The Guardian, there is an agreement between Cameron and Osborne that all senior ministers should be transparent. Let's hope... Let's hope they don't mean Eric Pickles. Yuck. According to The Express, Cameron is relaxed about revealing his income tax returns. According to The Telegraph, George Osborne says he hasn't set his face against it. Which face does he use when he sets his face against it? Does he use this face? Or this face? Or this face? So why is it all kicking off now? What started this rumpus?
It's Ken Livingstone.
That's right.
It was discovered that Ken had said that people who avoid tax are rich bastards who shouldn't be allowed to vote. And then it turned out that he pays a lot of his earnings into a company and pays not tax at 40%, but corporate tax at 21%. And a lot of people irresponsibly thought he's avoiding tax. What a bastard. Then there was a fight between him and Boris.
In a radio station, in a lift. What did he call him, though? Did he call him a lying wanker?
No, I'm afraid it was the F word.
Lying wanker?
I'm not helping here, am I?
That happens to be one of our finest banks.
You're very close. Boris screamed into Ken's face, "You're a liar." presumably a phrase Boris picked up from his wife.
Right, let's get on with the show, and we start with the biggest stories of the week. Ian and Henning take a look at this.
That's Matt Hancock literally in hot water, trying to wash his hands of it. That's an emergency flight from Turkey, possibly bringing equipment to there. They're just testing.
Yeah, there is the doc from earlier.
Yeah, this is the growing criticism of the government's handling of the coronavirus crisis. It looks like the Prime Minister Boris Johnson's still convalescing, unable to attend important meetings. So no change there then, Ian.
No, I mean, that was the shock news at the weekend, that he'd missed 5 of these important Cobra meetings and had been too concerned with, Brexit and reshuffling the cabinet and his impending marriage. I mean, he did have a lot on in February, and so there wasn't really time to organise the country in the face of this pandemic. So, yeah, that hasn't gone so well.
No, I think though no one can complain because, I mean, he didn't get voted in because of his diligence. So no one can be that surprised. I mean, yeah, OK, you can say, OK, the Premiership so far has been unmitigated disaster. What did people expect?
So you're blaming the public, Henning. That always makes you popular.
Although there was one crucial decision he was involved in back in March, which was to keep Britain out of talks with the EU to bulk buy protective gear at the beginning of the crisis. That's according to the most senior Foreign Office civil servant, Sir Simon MacDonald, who told us Commons Select Committee this was not a communication error, it was a political decision. Although later he admitted that he'd made the claim inadvertently and wrongly. So a communication error of his very own. What is going on, Emma? What's happening?
Well, it's quite an odd thing that after something goes out like that, you can make the claim inadvertently. Were you actually wrong? I don't know. It now just looks quite odd that he said with full confidence to a select committee one thing and then afterwards it wasn't the case. But the thing that they've been very lucky about with that particular situation is no one who signed up to it on time has yet to receive a containment. So what they can now say is, well, look, it didn't make any difference anyway.
Do you not think that everybody's been just looking at old episodes of Yes Minister, in which in the first 5 minutes the civil servant says something that's clearly true, and then the minister tells him that it isn't true after all, and then he remembers that it isn't true at all? And I love the idea that it's, was this a political decision? We could ask him now. Was the fact that you said the opposite straight afterwards, was that a political decision? Michael Gove's performance was fantastic because he's essentially being asked, is the Prime Minister trustworthy? And Gove has spent the last couple of years telling us he isn't. That's why he ran against him. So he had to sit there and say, I can't imagine why any of this would be believed. Well, we can.
Health Secretary Matt Hancock has also been criticised for failing to provide essential equipment for NHS staff. He responded by saying, I would love to be able to wave a magic wand and have PPE fall from the sky in large quantities. Well, if they haven't locked the doors properly on that flight from Turkey, you may be in luck.
There was a thought, though, that ministers in a report this week in the Telegraph were hanging Matt Hancock out to dry, obviously unnamed ministers.
Yes, there was a big promise about testing, and we were going to have 100,000 tests a day. But so far, we haven't done that. We've been something like 18,000. Is that right, Emma?
But in the first PMQs, Dominic Raab committed to meeting that target. So, you know, it's only a few days' time. We'll find out.
Thoughts inevitably are now turning towards unlocking the lockdown. The Mail reported that the government are considering a traffic light system. Any idea how that might work, Paul?
Yes, red followed by yellow followed by green. And then repeat the process.
Yeah, and the idea is you sort of gradually ease the country back into go mode. So in the red phase, basically, shops will be allowed to open at first, and hairdressers, thank God, Ian, eh? Then... in the next amber phase, the schools might open. They're talking about May the 25th as a provisional opening date for those. And then finally, the green phase is when the pubs will open. Here it is, as the Sun's report. Pubs shut till Christmas. Oh, don't worry if you were worried about keeping up with the death toll. They've got that covered as well.
He's been charged with lying, hasn't he?
Yes.
With falsifying, with the big bus with the figure outside. It was something like 320 billion pounds a week goes through Europe or something like that. So
we'll have to be careful, they'll cut this out, and I don't want anyone to spoil the fun of thinking Boris is going to go to jail for life. Which,
So at the moment we're just at the preliminary hearing stage.
Oh, right, OK.
About whether when he was a public official he was telling lies and therefore abusing his office. It should be an interesting trial. I mean, very similar to putting the Pope on trial and saying, are you a Catholic? He was sacked from then sacked from sacked by his own reprimanded.
Ian?
Yes?
We're not allowed to say anything that might prejudice the case.
Well, that's absolutely fair enough, because I would like him to have a fair trial with a desirable result of him being imprisoned forever.
Without wishing to prejudice the outcome of the case?
No, because we mustn't do that. I'm not saying he's guilty.
Would you like to see Boris Johnson?
Let's deal with your arguments. One of them is on the side of this bus. We sent 350 million to Europe. We don't, and you know we don't. No, we don't. You know we don't.
No,
Admit that that figure is grotesquely misleading at best.
I won't.
The true figure is 161 million, correct?
No, the true figure is 350 million.
In
pounds.
net terms, the real figure is 161.
If you take out the abatement and the money that comes back, the UK money that comes back via Brussels, the figure is obviously lower.
Matt Lucas is so good.
How did David Cameron vote on the high-speed rail bill's second reading?
Well, he's all for it, isn't he?
He didn't turn up.
Oh, he didn't turn up?
No.
He didn't actually turn up.
He was on a train, it was late.
Well...
He didn't bother, even though he lives just across the road. Apparently he was having a date night, and Nick was really looking forward to it, so Mayor of London, Boris Johnson, is a supporter of the high-speed rail link, but how did he sensitively answer those voicing environmental concerns?
He said it's absolute bollocks. All these environmentalists, they don't care about butterflies and trees. All they care about is their house prices. Do you know what? If Boris Johnson was like a woman or a poor person, they wouldn't get away with the things that he says. But because he was, like, well-educated and posh, I think people
Is there
think...
a problem coming here?
No, but I think... No, but we wouldn't get away with it. But people assume that his stupidity is deliberate because he's been so well-educated. He basically said that trees were stupid and that they didn't need to be saved because there are no trees in this country older than 200 years old.
Why is he so anti-tree?
He hates trees. They all hate grit. They all think the environment is, like, for pussies, don't they, and girls and stuff. No, they do. It's all money.
Who's
They
they?
make me sick. Oh, you lot.
What lie did Boris Johnson tell Robert Peston?
Was this the 350 million again?
Linked?
On the NHS?
Linked.
Did he say it would be
Oh,
reconsidered?
He said it was in the manifesto.
Yeah.
Did she say it at the manifesto launch?
No. Not only did he lie, but he actually cheated as well, because he looked at Peston's notes in the hope of finding out what the question was going to be, and he was caught.
I didn't know what cheating you were referring to there.
You've suddenly adopted the character of a northern housewife. Have you heard about... Well, it's no surprise to me. He was rinsing out his own gloves last Saturday.
We haven't talked about Labour very much, so to head off any accusations of bias...
Are you leaving now to be replaced? The next round will be hosted by Michael Portillo. Come on, we can have a train round.
When it comes to Labour's manifesto promises, how did Shadow Foreign Secretary Emily Thornberry muddy the waters?
Was this Trident?
Yep.
She said there'd be a review, and the review might include scrapping it. Was that the problem?
And do you know who contradicted her and said it was Labour's policy to keep Trident?
Shadow Defence?
The Shadow Defence Secretary, that's right. This was Nia Griffiths, the Shadow Defence Secretary. Emily is not the Shadow Defence Secretary, I am.
You're doing it again! I don't know who that man was she was in the pub on Saturday, but it wasn't her husband, I'll tell you that much. I know full well he's got a job in Peterborough.
It was an amazing night for Jeremy Corbyn. Alan, you described him as useless, incompetent and incapable.
You're reading things into that, and this is... And it's... Yeah.
of the mainstream media attacking. So Hislop and his establishment paper, Public Eye, whatever it is.
Yes.
And you just make up these
Can I just say at this point, I'd like to congratulate Jeremy on a very, very good campaign. I'm not serious. He was terrible, but he wasn't as terrible as her. That's all that matters.
We
You
didn't
start
win.
from
We
a
didn't
really
win.
low bar.
Yes.
A huge success.
But
He's now as successful as Gordon Brown was when he lost.
What's gone wrong? What did I do wrong?
No, nothing. I think
nothing.
No, they're admitting it.
Are we
It's
moving
made
on?
up.
No, it's just...
What, today?
Yeah.
Well, extraordinarily, over the last 5 minutes, Chucker has actually withdrawn his candidacy from the Labour leadership.
This has got to be the most powerful programme on television. We haven't even gone out. At the moment, we're appearing in front of 300 people. That's enough to make a man withdraw his candidacy.
Oh, God.
Bad news, they've just shown your video on Have I Got News For You. I resign! I'm away, I'm off.
Do we have any information why he resigned? Why he...
Yeah, Peston called him amateur. He's gone.
I don't think Labour necessarily lost because they were left. I think it's because they are all over the place. It was an awful campaign.
They're not anymore.
No.
They're mostly in London.
No, but I think Labour are like those restaurants that have really thick menus. You know, and they serve, like, Italian food, breakfast, Chinese. You think, I do not trust these guys. They're just all over the place. It's sort of responsive, and that's the problem. I think they should choose some Labour campaign, Labour ideals, and just sort of make them appetising again. Sell them.
How about her for leader?
I'd be terrible. I'd be terrible. I mean, if you think Ed was bad at eating a bacon sandwich, I'm practically feral.
That's your campaign poster. Practically feral.
New Labour anymore. No. I hadn't noticed that. They're going to rebrand.
Yeah, Labour.
Labour Classic.
They couldn't call themselves New Labour when Blair left. It's like when Mike Nolan left Bucks Fizz. They couldn't call themselves Bucks Fizz anymore.
Labour could go with Bucks Fizz. Champagne socialists, but slightly diluted with orange juice. And the Lib Dems, what are they?
I think they're going to sit this election out.
Yeah.
It's probably...
They've got a note from their mother.
I think they'll play the sympathy vote to a certain extent. Just have Nick Clegg topless holding a puppy, just looking into the camera like that.
According to the Sunday Times, what has David Cameron decided to do?
Resign.
No.
Go on holiday.
No, this is about the TV debates.
He's going to debate with Nigel Farage. He's going for the toughest one first.
That's right. Cameron is going to take on Farage. According to the Sunday Times, Cameron wants the TV debates to be in a 2-3-5 formation. So that's Cameron Miliband, Clegg Miliband Cameron, and Farage Cameron Clegg Miliband with Yaya Toure behind the strikers. Thank you for laughing. I don't know what that meant.
Who are the two gangs in the Labour rivalry?
They're called Momentum, which is the Corbynite one, and Progress, which is the other.
Like it's The Apprentice. Oh, my God, they've given themselves stupid names.
There is a serious side to this. The divisions in the Labour Party gave Cameron a much easier time on Wednesday than he should have had, because much of the debate was actually focused about the internal battles in the Labour Party, where it should have been focused on dismantling what was a threadbare case for bombing in Syria.
According to one embattled Labour MP, every day is like opening an advent calendar of shit. What did one of Corbyn's most loyal supporters, Diane Abbott, do in a shadow cabinet meeting?
Light an advent candle.
Be dangerous. According to the Sunday Times, Diane Abbott tried to do an impression of shadow education spokesperson Lucy Powell. One source told the Sunday Times she's no Mike Yarwood. The performance was so dire that Corbyn loyalist John Cryer considered voting for bombing just on the basis of her contribution.
How much do you blame Corbyn for the referendum result? You even thought Corbyn voted leave, didn't you?
I think a lot of the arguments that Jeremy put helped the Leave campaign.
Do you still think he will go down in history as the man who broke the Labour Party, as you said?
Well, everything's to... The Labour Party's got to be mended, that's the truth, and I don't like Mrs May and the way she's leading the country, so I hope that Labour can pull itself together.
That's definitely not a straight answer to a straight
That was about as skew-if an answer as I could possibly give.
So...
Oh, Jeremy's in!
I think people know you think Jeremy Corbyn's an idiot. I mean, you've said it so many times. Why stop now?
But there's plenty of people who move in and out of the shadow cabinet, and they've said even worse things than Chris has. So don't try and restrict his future career.
I'm sorry.
Just by trying to get him to, you know, confirm what he's already said many times is pretty underhand. Leave him alone.
I'm a bit worried that Ian Hislop is supporting me, and
I'm not.
You know,
Did you hear what he called you to?
Sickening capitalist lickspittles.
Pretty much. Sneering media commentariat.
I like the commentariat bit.
Yeah.
Just a Soviet hint there.
Why would he say that about you, Camilla?
I said that I was a little bit in love with him only 2 months ago, so I don't know why he would say that.
Well, I'll tell you other things you've said about him is he is a turbo weirdo.
Correct.
A weaponised lentil. An extraordinary half-resuscitated...
But anyway, this is the Labour conference. It didn't go as badly as everyone hoped. And in the end, Corbyn was not very good.
I have to say, I like him. I think as a person, I do. I like him as a person. I think
Have you met him, though?
if he was on Bake Off, which is how I judge these things. First couple of weeks, you think, oh, I'm not sure about the Grumpy, I'm not sure about Jeremy. Then you just go, oh, I love that. Wasn't it lovely when Elaine dropped that flan and Jeremy picked it up? I think if he was on... if he was on Bake Off and Cameron was on Bake Off, he would win the next election. I don't know if that's how they're doing but if they do...
That's certainly news that the election's decided by Bake Off now.
Ian, it's the new politics.
You're absolutely right, of course. It is the first conference for Corbyn as leader, and obviously it was slightly derailed at the end by this nuclear business.
Tell me about Trident. I understand the reason why we had Trident immediately after this, you know, the Bay of Pigs and the Cuban Missile Crisis. Why have we still got this? Why have we got this submarine? What is it protecting us from?
Originally it was...
Is it attacks on the underground?
No, nor attacks on buildings. It was there originally to protect us against the Russians during the Cold War. And
but that sort of war's moved on now, isn't it?
Yeah, but one of the things about this week is it just reminds you that the Russians are still there.
Yeah, but I've got a box of hay under my bed that keeps the elephants away. You know, it's the same thing with Trident. It's really difficult to prove that it's sort of doing what it's meant to have done.
It is very difficult to prove. I mean,
because my box of hay doesn't cost 120 billion quid, you see. Well, it does keep the elephants away.
No elephants.
No elephants.
Have we got on question time?
CBeebies, I think.
Also, he was asked a straight question and he gave a genuine answer. They asked a question, which they always do for politicians. We'll ask him a question that's impossible to answer. So, would you ever press the nuclear button? If you say no, then you have this reaction. If you say yes, you say, well, you've always said you wouldn't do. So he can't answer it. So what does he do? He actually told the truth.
Yeah.
And no one's done that for a long time.
No,
Definitely question time.
Whether he is right or wrong, I think that's quite a refreshing way to deal with it.
I think the problem was that he then changed his mind afterwards, which is not great if you've got your finger hovering above the nuclear button, to be fair.
I had a bit of sympathy when he said he'd never press that button under any circumstances, because I'm the same with the ITV2 button on my remote.
What is ITV2?
You will find out soon enough, Jeremy.
Just rotate your televisions for this. Here's the first one.
Beep.
Buzz.
Yes, that's Jeremy Corbyn waving goodbye as his tenure as leader of the Labour Party is coming to a close. His watch is facing the wrong way, but he's saying goodbye, having sort of lost heavily at the last general election.
Yes. This is the very bad news for the Conservative Party that last week Jeremy Corbyn stood down as leader of the opposition. What did Corbyn finally admit to last week? Ian?
He admitted that he'd been right all along and that the country was now in a perfect
socialist state in which the government paid everyone's wages, there were police on the streets arresting you for going outside, and it was what he'd always wanted. It was a pity it had taken a virus to do it, but apart from that, he'd been absolutely right all along.
How did Corbyn sign off his last PMQs as Labour leader?
He sent a letter to Boris Johnson which outlined his 5-point plan for what he thinks Boris Johnson should do, but there was only one problem with it. It had 6 points.
Well, he's not the only one in the party who can't count, is he? No.
Oh, someone's entered Miles's house.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I think someone's moving furniture. Yeah. I'll find out when this is over.
It's the bailiffs.
What will we all remember about Jeremy Corbyn?
The number of people who wouldn't let him finish?
Probably when he did this.
Private rented, poor lives.
Why are you remaining neutral?
Can I finish, please? Areas that have different views on it, as indeed...
So you bring Brexit voices in?
Can I finish? Thank you. I think we've fought a very good piece of opposition to what the government's been doing. We
Leave voters, Jeremy. Leave voters may argue that they are betrayed.
Can I finish, please?
I think you have. With everything that's going on in the world, this is the story that's dominated the front page of the Morning Star. Jeremy Corbyn says the government's unprecedented financial bailout proves that he was right. Really, I don't remember him predicting a worldwide pandemic because some bloke in China ate a mongoose. Also still in the race are Rebecca Long-Bailey and Lisa Nandy. Really though, I thought they'd shut all the Nandys.
Right, round 2, the picture spin quiz. Fingers on buzzers, here you go. Richard, what's this about?
This was the news that Keir Starmer was elected leader of the Labour Party, replacing Jeremy Corbyn, and replacing indeed a lot of Corbyn's supporters in the shadow cabinet as he went along. And he made it a big priority to reach out in particular to the Jewish community, which he felt the previous regime had perhaps alienated a little bit. I think getting circumcised live on the One show was taking it a bit far, but we look forward to a newly revived relationship between the Labour Party and its traditional Jewish members.
But very traditional members, if he's got circumcised.
Yes, this is the news that Keir Starmer has been elected the leader of the Labour Party after winning a landslide victory. The New Statesman described the scale of the win as unexpected. Yes, the words Labour and landslide victory don't often go together. What has his convincing victory allowed Keir Starmer to change?
Well, a lot of the cabinet, the shadow cabinet. So I'm getting ahead of myself. It's the government of national unity. By the time you see this, we may have one. Keir Starmer may have stepped in. It wouldn't be a bad idea. But he's got rid of a lot of old Corbynites.
Yes, notable departures include Richard Bergen, who last year gave us so many wonderful moments, like this one.
We want the Tories out as soon as possible. We want to sort out Brexit. We also want to sort out austerity, which has lasted for 9 years.
Polls say you won't win.
Pardon?
The polls say you won't win.
The polls said we wouldn't win last time.
You didn't.
But
Speaking about Bergen's departure, one MP told The Sun this week, "I just feel sorry for the village that's getting its idiot back." Who is back in the shadow cabinet?
Ed Miliband's back.
He is. The Sun in particular was delighted to see Ed Miliband return to frontline politics. What pun headline did they welcome his appointment with?
Miliband of Brothers.
Milli Vanilli.
Yeah.
Vanilli.
Brilliant.
It was later discovered that Ed Miliband was miming to his own speeches. They went with, "Look who's back, Bacon."
Ooh.
Strictly speaking, is that a pun? It's not really a pun, is it? It's more a collection of words that don't really belong together.
And you have to remember a photograph of him eating bacon.
They did print that snap next to the headline. Here it is. Yeah. Unable to eat a bacon sandwich. The last time the Labour leader was in step with the Jewish community. This is the news that Keir Starmer has been made leader of the Labour Party. You must have noticed it. It was all over page 19 of the Mirror. One of Keir Starmer's first decisions as leader was to appoint Ed Miliband as the shadow business secretary. Ed is currently in isolation. Nothing to do with the virus, it's just his family still won't talk to him after he shafted his brother.
Keir Starmer also appointed leadership rival Wigan MP Lisa Nandy to the role of Shadow Foreign Secretary. She'll now be in charge of dealing with parts of the world foreign to Labour, like the North.